Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Pirkei Avos, the Ethics of the Fathers, live from Israel with Rabbi Chaim Coffman. Let's just tune right in. I think today we got part 3 of chapter 2, Mishna 13. So let's see how the rabbi's doing today and zoom right in. Rabbi, you're live on the air. We're going to turn it over to you because it's a beautiful class and so good to be with you as always.
Always a pleasure. Sorry for the delay. It was my bad over here. But usually it's your fault, so I'll take blame. I'll take blame over here. We are still chapter 2, Mishnah 13, and we're gonna still hit one part of the Mishnah, right? Which we spoke in the last few weeks about what it means to go out and discern which is the proper way a person should cling, right? What direction a person should go in. So the first one, right, as we're going to see, it's called, in the name of Rabbi Eliezer, it's called the good eye, right? Having a good eye. We're going to see what that means. We're going to see what that means over here. So I want to mention one thing, or actually maybe a couple things here. And says Moed Rebbe, Arav Agon Moshe Moshlito should be well. And he says there's a hint. He says there's a hint over here in his commentary on Pirkei Avos. He says, what's the hint over here? That a person's true colors come out when they're outside the walls of the study hall. Right? So the Gemara explains, and we'll see what that means in a second. The Gemara explains, Tractate Brachot 16a, Torah is like a stream, or it's like a river, just like a person who immerses themselves in the river can take them from purity, from impurity to purity, right? In other words, a person was impure, they can go to the mikveh, they go to a stream, they go to a river, they can purify themselves. So too, the words of Torah have a purifying effect upon us. So, Rabbi says an interesting thing. He says that why is it a person's true colors come out when they're not learning, right? When they're not, let's say, in the synagogue, when they're not, in the study hall, wherever they may be learning Torah, they're outside of these walls of learning, so to speak. That's the big test, right? That is the test. Why? Because a person, in theory, can be righteous, when they're in a study hall, when they're learning with other people, when there are other good spiritual things that are going on. But the question is, did a person internalize the message of what they learn, even when they're outside study hall? Right? They're waiting in line for whatever. They're in a bank. They're in the post office. They're in the supermarket. They're driving down the roads. That's the big test, right? The big test is, what does a person's Torah look like? Meaning, person can be learning, and while they're learning, everything's good. They're not being distracted, let's say. They're not talking about politics, not talking about other things extraneous to what they're learning. So whenever they're learning, however long they're learning, there's an evil inclination to study all also. Maybe we'll discuss that as well. But the real test of what a person learns is when they're outside, when they're quote unquote part of the big world. Right? In other words, they're out there. They're out there in the world, and they're interacting with other people. They're involved in business. They're, as we mentioned, they're in the post office. They're in a bank. They're in a supermarket. They're doing errands. Whatever it is. Question is, do they exemplify what they learn? Does it show from the outside, oh, look, this person has, good character traits. They don't push in line. they're not loudmouth. They're whatever it is. They have good character traits from what they see. So what does that mean? That means that the message that the Torah gives, they're giving a clear message. They're saying they are exactly on the outside as what they are on the inside, right? There's no faking over here. Now, there are people that, okay, they learn, etc., but their character traits are despicable. So you're going to say, the person can say, what about the Torah they learned? How much value is the Torah that they learned? They act like animals. If they don't, if they interact in a poor way, they push someone in line, they cheat somebody, let's say, something like that. What's the person going to ask, or what's the person going to say? They're gonna say, come on, you should know better. Your Torah should be worth a heck of a lot more. Why are you acting in such a way? So now we could make any number of excuses. We could say a person has an evil inclination. We're not always acting the way we should, or we're not always saying what we should, etc. So they say we'll cut the person a little bit of slack. Maybe they had a bad day, going through a tough time, whatever it is. Normally, when a person's out there, quote unquote, the real world. I love people say that, the real world, right? That's the real world. And a person doesn't act the way they should. So if they don't act the way they should, you don't get a second chance. Usually a first impression, whether it's right or wrong, a person's going to make a first impression, other person's going to size them up, and that's what's going to stick with them. If they do something bad, they do something egregious, let's say, doesn't matter how much they apologize, doesn't matter, they say, listen, my house just got burned down, God forbid, or something terrible happens, you don't normally get a second chance. We can make excuses, probably not going to help. Person's in a rush, right? Person's in a rush, it's before Shabbos. Maybe, something came up last minute, so they're rushing around. They go out, they start driving like a maniac, which is not permitted. They cut people off, this and that, but they have no idea. Nobody has any idea what you're going through. If it's an emergency, let's say it's a medical emergency, one thing. I'm not saying you should drive like a maniac either, right? But at the same time, a person's not going to understand that. What are they going to see? They're going to see that you cut them off the road, that you're seemingly in a rush. They don't know what's going on. Now, all they have to see is the fact that that person looks like an Orthodox Jew. If that person looks like an Orthodox Jew, it's going to look pretty bad, right? And the other person's probably not going to hear the other side of the story. They're not going to hear what happened and why. And it could be there's no excuse to be made over here. If that's the case, that's 10 times worse. But I'm saying, even if there is an excuse to be made, even a person could make an excuse, so what? Right? What's the other person going to say? The other person going to say, see, Orthodox Jews cut people off the road. See, Orthodox Jews, push someone in line. See, they don't speak properly. See, we could, the list goes on. This could go on forever, over here. So when a person makes an impression, you want to make the best impression at all times. Now you're going to say it's not so easy. We have a lot of mood swings. We go up and down, different things, unexpected things, okay? Doesn't mean what a person does is right, right? So my Rebbe here says, there's a hint over here, right? Again, what are we saying? We're saying go out and discern what the proper way a man should cling. A person should cling. What's the proper way? Going in the way of Torah mitzvahs. That's the proper way, right? 100% that's the proper way. So if that's true, don't you have to exemplify what the Torah says? Don't you have to go out of your way? Be nice to others, give charity, whatever it is. Whatever is the Torah says, we have to do it to the best of our ability. Now, comes on the evil inclination, knocks us around, puts us in situations we don't want to be in. Or maybe we do to ourselves, okay? Right? Once something is done, that we get blamed, and we mentioned this many times. The Jewish people get blamed collectively, whether someone does something wrong, it's a secular Jew or, God forbid, an Orthodox Jew. All Jews get blamed. Someone, we said before, an Italian in Brooklyn does something wrong. Could be pretty bad. What are you going to say? Burn down Italy? I'm going to burn down the Italian flag. No more cannolis. Forget it. No one's going to do that. By any other nation, there's no collective punishment. None. And a person would say, well, all Chinese people like this, all Asians like that, all black people, you'd say they're racist. But when a Jew does something wrong, people say all kinds of things. Oh, look, there's an article last week, spoke about it. There was an article in the New York Times against Hasidic schools, right? And how kids don't come out maybe speaking English so well. Or they don't come out with higher mathematics. They barely know basic mathematics. Yeah, they ride it on, Hasidic schools. And one main reason is because they're giving tons of money. Legally, not illegally here. So they give a lot of money. So if they give a lot of money, we have a statement here in Israel. It's called Bala Mea Bala Deya. One who's got 100, people listen to him. Right? If they got money, people listen to them. It doesn't matter who they are. People listen to them, right? Because they have money. So over here, if they come out not speaking the greatest English, or they don't get past basic math, so they were rioted against this article. But who says higher mathematics we need? Right? I've been going back and forth, bantering with a few people. It's what, you're saying they shouldn't learn, basic math. I didn't say that. So the first thing I said is, I spoke. I said, did you watch the video? No, it's too long. Thank you very much. You didn't watch what I said. So I made a clarification, and made it clear. It was clear what I said the first time. Basic math they get. Are they going to get more than that? No. Do they need algebra? Algebra would help them figure out how many miles to the gallon or liters to the kilometer or whatever. It's an algebraic equation. When I was teaching math in the yeshiva once, explains, we don't have to know this. This isn't practical. I showed them it's practical. But even so, they need to know calculus. What do they need to know calculus for? Well, they need, unless they're going to go further in math or other things that they needed, right? But most people are never going to use it. Never. So basic math, basic English to get. And there are plenty of people with basic English making good money. If you're telling me they're all floundering, they can't get jobs, they're a bunch of parasites and all this, getting a lot of money from the government, blah, 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 different issue. That's not the case. Totally not the case. There are people with, their English is pretty bad. Let's say it's pretty bad. They're making good money. Diamonds, real estate, what do you call it? Nursing homes, other things. What do you think? They need to have such good English? I think it would be better. They speak a little bit better English, but they don't have to. What's English grammar going to help them anyway? If they have to write letters and different things, they have other people write them, right? Other people, better educated. So let them write it. They have to know it. What do they have to know it for? They don't have to know it. Higher mathematics, they don't need. Definitely don't need. And degrees, in most cases, they don't need. Right? So I'll throw one out there. Dan, you need a degree to have to run an auto business? To sell cars? I don't think you need a degree. Right? I don't think you need a degree for that. A person wants to go into computer graphics, take a course. We're going to architecture, take a course. You don't necessarily need a degree. Right? So the point is, they look at something, they'll read this article, and then people are going to say, see, look at Orthodox Jews. There are a lot of defenders also, by the way. But they'll say, see, look what Orthodox Jews do. Their educational system, they barely know how to speak English. They barely know math. Okay? So if you tell me the community in general is not successful because of the system, okay, maybe I hear it. Maybe I hear such a thing. Well, not true. Right? It's totally not true. But what's my point? My point is, once something like that is said and it's out there in the media, they don't retract it. 100% they don't retract it. And if they do retract it, damage is already done. Right? So my point is, if a Jew does something wrong, and we're the ambassadors to the world, right? Because we're called the holy nation. God chose us, we chose him. 100%. So we're out there in the world. 100% we're out there in the world. So if we do something wrong, whether it's egregious or not, we're all blamed. 100% we're all blamed. It's not, so I say that's not fair. Why do we get blamed? I didn't do anything wrong here. Someone else did something wrong. He stole, he connived, whatever. They did something wrong. Why do we get blamed? Why does everybody get blamed? Because there's a Talmudic statement. The Talmud says, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh. All Jews are intertwined. Secular Jew, Orthodox Jew, doesn't matter. They do something wrong, whether it's more egregious, less egregious, they're in trouble. We're all going to look bad. And that's why secular Jews during World War II were going nuts. They were saying, listen, we fought in your wars. We married your women. We went to universities. What do you want against us? Take these ultra-Orthodox Jews. Exactly what anti-Semites say. They don't speak your language. They don't eat your foods. They have separate, holidays, different things. Right? So saying, take them. Why are you taking us? We're just like you. What did he be blotted out, may rot, wherever it is. What did he have to say on the subject? He said, no way. He said, you got Jewish blood, quarter Jewish blood, half Jewish blood, doesn't matter. Can be totally on the wrong side. We're going to nail every single Jew. Why? Because that was a decree. That God made a decree. And that part of world Jewry is going to get wiped out. Right? There was a decree. There was a decree over here. Now that being said, we have to act the way we need to. Whether we're learning in the study hall, whether we're not, but the question's going to be, whatever we learn, right? Isn't that supposed to make us better? Supposed to make us better, right? 100%. It's supposed to make us better over here. Why? Because we have a Torah that obligates us in mitzvahs. We have a Torah that tells me how I'm supposed to act, what I'm supposed to do, etc. And there are a lot of things a person, God forbid, could transgress. Right? 100%. We got to be careful. Because we are our own worst enemy, and everyone's going to judge by what we do. Because we're out there. So we got to be careful. Right? 100%. 100% we have to be careful. Right? So my Rebbe says, a person's true colors, they're going to come out. They are 100% going to come out when you're not learning. When you're not studying. When you're waiting for the train. When you're in your car. When you're on a bus. You're on an airplane. You're in the post office. All these things. What's going to happen? People are going to look at us. They're going to scrutinize every little thing we do. And I'm not saying that's right. But see, God chose us, we chose him, so we have obligations. We have greater obligations. So if we have greater obligations, we have to be a heck of a lot more careful when we're out there. So now, I've heard many people say, yeah, I want to convert to Judaism, but it's an awesome responsibility. So I always say Halavai Jews would think that. Halavai people that are born Jews would think it's an awesome responsibility to be a Jew. It is. There's no question. There's no question it's an awesome responsibility. But that being the case, that means I have to live up to what the Torah says. And that's not so easy. Because we're going to get scrutinized. I'm not saying it's right. But this is the reality. We're going to get scrutinized. We're out there. 100% we're out there. And we'll get blamed for any little thing. Any little thing someone will say, it will have nothing to do with you. They'll say, I saw this person did X, Y, and Z. So, okay. So my answer would be, so what do you want from me? Right? Came up a number of times. Number of times someone said, I saw an Orthodox Jew in a casino. Right? I don't normally answer these type of questions. They said, I saw an Orthodox Jew in a casino. Okay. So what were they doing there? I said, probably gambling, having a good time. So like, no, but according to your religion, right? Secular Jews will say, according to your religion, the same religion, according to your religion, isn't that forbidden? Yes. Right? Person shouldn't go into a casino. Right? So the question is, so why are they there? Why are you asking me? I have enough difficulty to answer for myself. I am not going to answer for someone else. Why are people overweight? Right? Why do people smoke? Why do people speak Lashon Hara against other people? Right? I have a whole laundry list I could go through. I have to answer for why someone does something. I have to answer for myself. Right? We have to answer for ourselves. Now, I could give a slant on it maybe and say why I think, a person was there and what they were doing, maybe what a leniency is they're relying on, maybe. But at the end of the day, when a person's out there, you got to be very careful because for better or for worse, we're going to be on display. 100% we're going to be on display. So you might have to fake it, a little bit better, but you got to be on your best behavior. Because if not, we'll get slaughtered. They'll see, look, this Orthodox Jew did this. Or, I called someone on it that someone made a comment once, and they said, yeah, look what these people are doing, meaning Orthodox Jews. So I told them, I said, by the way, you're talking to an Orthodox Jew who doesn't do that. I said, if I would call you out, I would say, you're a self-hating Jew, and, you hate Orthodox Jews in general, but I'd call you a racist. Because if you said that about blacks, I wouldn't be, ram it down your throat. Said it about, Asians or Chinese or anybody else, they'd ram it down your throat. 100% they'd ram it down your throat. But it's okay to say it against your own people or part of your own people who are not like you. That's being racist. I stopped and it's like, no, but I didn't mean you. Doesn't matter what you meant. I know what you meant. Right? But you're classifying a whole group as X, Y, and Z. Well, and I'm included in that group. So that makes what you just said against me, against my family. We don't do that. And nobody in my family does such a thing. Right? So, they backed off, but are they still going to think it? They're still going to think it. And I think this is terrible and this is wrong. Okay? And if it is, it's wrong. But you're not everybody does it. If you're going to tell me, every single Orthodox Jew, for instance, they're going to say, they cheat on the taxes, let's say. Because Uncle Sam takes too much. So they say they cheat on their taxes. The majority, all Orthodox Jews. Really? You're going to make such a statement? All Orthodox Jews this or that, or it doesn't matter, even if it's a segment of the population. Even if it's a segment of the population, it's not the whole population. Right? Might be a fringe element. There was, a couple years ago, it was before Corona, 4 years ago. 4 years ago, someone was here in Israel, and when I went to see them, and someone made a comment. There was somebody there, whatever, they live in America, somebody married to an Israeli, right, that, been in America for many years. And the question this secular Israeli, asked, said, can I ask you some questions? I said, sure. I said, go ahead. What were the questions you wanted to know? One is, there's a fringe group called the Torah Karta that they look like ultra-Orthodox Jews, right? But essentially they don't believe in the state of Israel. And they're anti-Zionists, and they've been to Iran sucking up to Ahmadinejad and Arafat and all this. They're like, what about the Torah Karta? Nobody holds of them in the ultra-Orthodox community. Nobody. No, they're a fringe element. Maybe there are 10 of them in the world. I don't know. But nobody holds of them. That was the first thing. Second question was there's some women who want to be so extra, modest They wear almost like a burqa, right? They wear like, they call them the shawl women. They wear this shawl, that covers their body, right? Some of them actually have a thing that goes over their heads. They can only basically just see their eyes, right? You say, what about them? Nobody holds with them either. Because if the whole thing is about being extra modest, well, people are going to stare at them. That does the opposite. Okay. But nobody holds with them either, right? Fringe element at best. And what was the third thing that came up? Why don't ultra-Orthodox Jews do the army? You see, there's, here in Israel, there's an agenda. They're going to look at things that are fringe things. They're going to say, look at these people. What does that have to do with me? The one question you have about ultra-Orthodox Jews in the army, okay, right? A lot of people ask the question. These other things are totally irrelevant. I'm like, so after I heard the second question, I said, these things really bother you? Like, you have trouble sleeping at night? I was like, you have trouble sleeping at night? Finally came in contact with an Orthodox Jew. And that's what you're going to ask? About people belong to fringe elements that nobody holds of. Nobody in the ultra-Orthodox community. Fringe elements. Oh, now you want to know why ultra-Orthodox Jews don't do the army? Okay, that's a question. It's also a question. Right? But, the number of exemptions, whatever, it's a whole long thing we're not going to get into. Right? And then came the knockout blow. Knockout question. Right? After I answered these questions, knockout question was, how many secular Jews are you friends with? Like live in your neighborhood. I said, none. We don't have secular Jews live in my neighborhood. They don't want to live in my neighborhood, right? Orthodox Jews stick together, right? Wherever they are. So my answer should have been, and anyone who gets asked this question, this is the answer you give. Because obviously there's an agenda over here. See, you're so close-minded. See, you only hang out with your own. We do. Right? We do over here. That's true. No one's claiming we're open-minded. Right? No one is ever going to claim we're open-minded. You know what? And secular people are also not open-minded. They claim to be, but they're also not. But what's the right answer? What is the right answer over here? The right answer is, how many Orthodox Jews are you in contact with and live in your neighborhood? You flip the script, you give it right back to them. You throw it right back in their face. That's what I should have done. Right? I was sort of, caught off guard by the question. Right? But that's the answer. You're going to say we hang out with our own. Right? We don't hang out with secular Jews. They don't live in our neighborhoods and whatever, and we're elitist and blah, blah, blah. Well, what about you? You hanging out with Orthodox Jews? No. You have any connection to Orthodox Jews? No. Even the modern ones? No. So what are you asking me? So you're just as close-minded as me. Right? Who's totally open-minded? I met somebody, shouldn't say, I had a friend of mine years ago, wanted to claim he's so much more open-minded than us. Than Orthodox Jews. I asked him. He's a conservative Jew. I said, what do you think of reform? Oh, the terrible, ruined Judaism. I said, the Orthodox, they're fanatics. All of them, they're fanatics. I said, Reconstructionists, they're out to lunch. They're loonies. This, that. I said, so what about conservative Jews? We're just right. So I said, I'm so glad to see you're open-minded. Right? Obviously, it's not being open-minded over here. Right? So we're going to say what the Torah says. And people aren't going to like it. Too bad. Right? My Rebbe would say, go eat kugel. You don't like it. Okay, so what? I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry someone's going to get offended. And I've gotten this question a lot. Someone's going to get offended because I say the Torah, Leviticus chapter 18 says you can't be a homosexual. People say, I find that offensive. Do I have to apologize for that? No. That's what the Torah says. Torah says, you can't steal. Torah says you can't commit adultery. Torah says you can't marry a non-Jew. Well, I don't think the Torah says can't eat pig. So I have to apologize for that? I have nothing to apologize for. And if people get offended by it, so what? So they have an issue with what the Torah says. They don't like what my explanation is. They don't like what the rabbis say. Okay. So you have your own agenda. Very good. What does that have to do with anything? Right? What does that have to do with anything over here? Right? So you can put your spin on whatever you want. I don't have to apologize for that. I don't have to, I don't have to go through hoops, to do that. Now, there are times where being politically correct may be problematic, right? Maybe problematic for you. Someone was telling me this last week, and I think, maybe I'll hit it, maybe one of my Q&As this week. And the question was, they got fired from their job. Why did they get fired from their job? Because they refused to be politically correct by calling someone that was transgender by the original name, right? In other words, let's say the English name was Nathan, they're going by Natalie now. And you have to acknowledge the person as Natalie, right? It says, I'm not going to do that. He's a guy, right? Not a woman, right? At least not the last time I checked. Still a guy, right? She got fired from her job. Now, according to what this person says, we'll get into it a little bit more, but according to what this person says, it's against the law. I can't do that. That's discrimination. How is that discrimination? On the law books, boggles the mind, right? Totally boggles the mind. How can that be a law? What happened to, what happened to freedom of speech, freedom of religion? That goes out the window, right? That goes out the window. Someone said you'll never win. You could fight it, you'll never win. It's a losing cause. Totally losing cause. So this is a big question. A person cannot say that this is a good thing. And if someone got married, they work with, 2 guys, 2 women, whatever it is, you can't say congratulations. Can't do that. Can you give them a gift? Problem to give them a gift also. So, they're going to ram it down your throat. Okay, who says you have to accept it? Goes against your religion. Goes against what you stand for. Right? It doesn't mean you have to be obnoxious about it, per se. But you can't acknowledge it and say it's good. Right? And there were stories of people, someone on the floor, someone was pushing papers in a county clerk's office. 2 guys walk in, want to get married, so it's against my religion. It's against what I believe in. I'm not doing it. They say you do it or you're going to get fired. Right? Or someone comes to a florist or, I don't know, a place where they have cakes or whatever, and he said, no, I'm not making a cake for this. They sued him. They said, what do you mean? So the question is, how far does that go? Does a Jew have to lose their, they have to lose their job over here, so to speak. So if you tell me, now this is a problem. Right, this is going to be a serious problem, because if you're telling me according to the law, and and there's an obligation for everybody to follow the law, right? It's called Dina Machus Dina, law of the land. You got to follow the law of the land. Now, what happens if the law of the land flies in the face of what Judaism says? So this is a big question. This is a huge question. Right? So can a Jew say that, let's say, it comes to intermarriage or homosexuality or whatever, right? And you don't acknowledge it. And you say it's right. Not only that, you say it's wrong. Again, doesn't mean you have to ram it down their throat and be obnoxious. Doesn't mean that. Right? But, if they come to you and they say, listen, that's my name. Well, can I call you something else? Right? Someone here mentions, call them Nat. Okay, it could be Nathan, it could be Natalie. Okay. I don't think the person's going to accept it. Say, would you accept Nat? They accept Nat, good. If they don't accept Nat, what do you do? What do you do over here? Right? It's putting a stumbling block in front of someone, that's for sure. So what do? Can't acknowledge it. Now, they could take it so far, and they can say, you ignore. Now, again, this is kind of wacky, right? They could say, and I guess if this is what the law is, you don't acknowledge that, they could fire you. Now, that is problematic. Now, you might not be able to win, and this person was telling me this across the board, everywhere. That's the law, right? So to speak. That's kind of crazy. It sounds like communism to me. They're gonna make you say what you have to say, even if it goes against what you believe. They're gonna force you to say the right thing, to be politically correct. I would have a big problem. Because everybody knows they're not politically correct, right? I'd have a huge problem, right? Again, I wouldn't ram it down someone's throat, but they say, listen, from now on, I'm a woman. Well, thank you very much. You're still a guy, right? And you're going to say, well, if you don't acknowledge me, I mean, this is how crazy it goes. I just want to point this out, and that is that a person can say, I'm a woman. You have to acknowledge me as a woman. If you don't acknowledge me as a woman, I'm going to go to the higher ups. I'm going to get you fired. Makesha, what in the world is the connection between whether I call someone by their, I acknowledge them, I don't acknowledge them, that has anything to do with my workability in this company? What's someone going to say? Come on, you're not with everybody else. You're going to stick out. You're going to be different. We want to be, we want to have team players over here. So they're going to say you're not a team player. You're not, you don't have your mind open till your brains fall on the floor. Right? That's a problem. This is a serious problem. If you can get by, well, it's probably going to be almost impossible. You have to deal with the person. You have to deal with the person. So I know somebody, and I'm sure it's not the only person. When they deal with someone of the opposite sex, it's a woman, they'll call the person Rabbi so-and-so. Rabbi last name. They won't call him by the first name. Right? They'll say, Rabbi Coffman or Rabbi Schwartz or whatever. They won't acknowledge a first name. For modesty reasons. They won't do that. And so for a guy, whatever, he's working for a company. So also, for different people, you call them by their last name. Mrs. So-and-so, whatever, or Miss, she's not married. So you don't have that, you don't have that closeness, so to speak, by calling by a first name. Now, what do you do in this situation? Right? So the person says, okay, I'm Natalie. Right? Their really name is Nathan. So you're still stuck. I thought I was going to have an answer. You're still stuck. Because you can say Mr. Johnson. Let's say that's his name. Mr. Johnson. But he says, I'm Miss Johnson. Okay, now I get a problem. I was going to say that might get you out of the problem. Unless you call them by the last name, it's not so nice. You'll say Johnson instead of calling him by his first name. Right? Or her first, whatever. Right? So now you get a problem. Right? I thought that would get me out of the problem. Doesn't. Right? If you call them only by their last name, and that works, good. If it doesn't, this is the problem. Right? This is the problem, but, it sounds absolutely like communism. What, they have a right to dictate what I say? I understand, okay, if it's something racist, it's something anti-Semitic a person says, you can call them in on it. Or something racist, I get it. So they're going to say the same thing over here. That's what they're going to put. They're going to say, this is discriminatory. They belong to the same race. Homo sapiens. They're people. They're just trying to claim they're a different person now. But they're really the same. Doesn't change anything. Unless they've had an operation. If they had an operation and changed a few things, maybe that changes things or not. Right? That's a whole nother discussion. Right? But who says acknowledging somebody for who they're not, who they're not is, they're going to say that's discrimination. That's what they're going to claim. That is exactly what they're going to claim. They're going to put it in the claim of anti-Semitism, racism. That's what they're going to put in the claim. You have to be that open-minded. Right? So, in such a case, I would say, how in the world can you have permission here to call a person by a name that they're not? You're not going to call a woman or a guy, a guy who's really a guy dressed as a woman, which is totally forbidden anyway. Right? Torah tells me clear, it can't be a cross-dresser. Men can't wear women's clothes. Women can't wear men's clothes. So, okay, cross-dressing is forbidden, but this is going well beyond that. I have to acknowledge that now they're calling themselves Natalie. But he's really Nathan, for goodness sakes. Right? So I'm going to lose my job. My job is on the line because I don't acknowledge, I don't want to acknowledge the transgender. What happened to free rights over here? What happened to, belief in my own religion, so to speak? So someone told me you'll never win such an argument. That argument goes out the window. 100%. That argument goes out the window. And you'll never win it. But someone was telling me this is across the board. This is what the law is. Now, again, I grew up in America. So what happened to freedom of speech? Unless they're going to claim, and this is the only idea I have, unless they're going to claim that if you don't acknowledge the person for what they want to be acknowledged as, then that means you're being a racist, homophobic, whatever it is. And that makes it I don't know if it makes it into a crime per se. Right? Maybe it does. According to them, maybe it does. But your freedom of speech just went out the window. They're now redefining what a person is based on, quote unquote, what their gender is. So that is a problem. That is a huge problem for us because the Torah states clear. Torah states clear. This is forbidden. Right? Being homosexual is forbidden. Intermarriage is forbidden. Right? Number of things here forbidden. So how can I say it's good? So they say you don't have to say it's good. All you have to do is say their name. All you have to do is acknowledge their name. And if they want to be called by a female name, so you have to call them by the female name. So a person's going to say, is that really forbidden? Again, is the person allowed to change genders? No. Question is, if a child's born, you can't tell what the gender is. They've had such cases before. That genitalia was hidden up or whatever. Had to make a decision. Which way to go. But to say later on, who's to say? Who's to say I'm going to change this way, that way? That's forbidden. Right? This whole idea, of what their agenda is, even at a very young age, to claim that who says a boy should be a boy? Maybe he should be a girl. Or vice versa. 7 years old, 8 years old. They're already painting this idea, putting this idea into people's heads. That's insanity. But people are going to say, oh, yeah, you're old school, Victorian England, you're going way back, you're medieval. Okay, so what? It's going way back more than being medieval. Either I believe the Torah is true or it's not. If the Torah is like silly putty, I can make it into anything I want, and I can do whatever I want. Okay, so there's no right and wrong, there's no nothing. But if we believe that the Torah is true, right, 100%, we believe it's true, and it doesn't change, right, etc. So how am I allowed to do this? So if it's really rampant, that's the law, then Jews are in serious trouble. If someone calls them on it. Because if you get called on it and it's forbidden, guess what? You just lost your job. This sounds, again, like government wanting to be in control of what people say. I can understand things that are outright racist, things that are outright forbidden to say, and that someone could press charges against you. That I understand. You put this in the same category. So they say it's the same thing. You're not acknowledging who I am. You're not acknowledging my sex. Who says I have to? Who says I have to? My religion says I don't have to. My religion says it's totally forbidden. It's an abomination. The act itself is an abomination. Right? So who says? Who says I have to give in to that? Oh, if you don't, you're going to lose your job. So either keep your mouth shut, don't acknowledge them. I don't know. It's going to be problematic. It's definitely going to be problematic. Now, I could understand person's working, they're working as a team. They work together, this, that. They got to have a little bit of empathy, I understand. But there's a difference having empathy, even if we disagree with it, than trying to say, than acknowledging it. Like people will say, person's already intermarried, people have done certain things. They'll say, you got to deal with it. It's been done. But guess what? It's forbidden. And if it's something forbidden, right, someone asked me once, it only came up once, thank God. And then, they quoted this whole thing from the Rambam. I was like shocked. They showed me something the Rambam says, right? The laws of repentance. Was it, it's good for Rosh Hashanah. I got a week to go. A little less than a week to go. Or a little more than a week to go, sorry. So what does the Rambam say? The Rambam says if someone comes to you, someone apologizes, someone comes to you and apologizes for something they've done wrong against you. What's the person's obligation? Their obligation is to say, I forgive you. Now, what if it's hard to forgive them? What if deep down you're still hurt, you're still upset? You still should try and forgive them, because if we forgive a person for what they've done against us, God's going to forgive us for what we've done against him. Measure for measure. But you're going to say the person caused this damage, that damage, the other. So I agree. I didn't say it's easy. I think it's an easy thing to do. I'm saying what we should do. Now, someone comes to me and they quote this Rambam. And they say, they quote this Rambam. They say, if you don't accept someone's forgiveness, you're considered cruel. And if they come a few times, you don't accept their forgiveness, what happens? You get the sin. And you don't have, the other person doesn't have to worry about it. But so I said to the person, 100%, I hold by what the Rambam here says. I hold by what Maimonides says. They say, okay, what about this case? They're like, what about this case? I said, what about it? I asked them the following question. I said, are you coming to me and apologizing and saying, you feel bad, you feel remorse, you feel regrets for what happened and this and that? Right? I'm not hearing that. That could be that's what they meant. But I wasn't letting them off the hook. I said, I'm not hearing that. What I'm hearing is, well, it already happened in the past. So deal with it. I'm not going to say what it was. Deal with it. You have to deal with it. But if, according to this, you transgress over here what the Rambam said. So I answered again. If you're telling me someone's coming, they're apologizing, and they're saying, I have regret, I have remorse. Not only that, they just say, I apologize for what happened. And I really feel bad what happened. And what you went through. Okay? That's an apology. That is an apology. Now, it could be maybe deep down they mean it. Okay? So, a person should try and forgive them, if possible. But it has to be 100%. Right? It cannot be just going to accept, I'm not going to accept fully. You have to accept it 100%. This is hard. This is very difficult. Yeah, this is what the Rambam says. Now, that was the end of the conversation. So, the person didn't have regret or remorse. They didn't apologize. 100%, they didn't apologize. I had no reason to accept what they said. And even if it would have been, I'll tell you myself, had it been a true apology, say, listen, I feel really bad, and this and that, and then the onus would have been on me, and I don't think I would have been able to stand up, so I would have said, no, too painful. Maybe I'll get the transgression over there, but never happened. It's not going to happen. Right? In the future, it's not going to happen. Right? This is very hard. Right? So the Rambam's saying, you have to say, I've done something wrong. You have to say, in other words, if it's between you and man, you and somebody else, and you ask them, if I've done anything wrong, do you forgive me? Forget about mentioning it. But you say, if I've done anything wrong, do you forgive me? The person should say, yes, I forgive you, with a full heart. If it's not with a full heart, it's not forgiveness. It has to be with a full heart. And thank God I wasn't tested with that. But if somebody comes and says you got to suck it up, right? You got to deal with it, and it happened in the past, that does not sound like an apology. And that was my answer. I said, you're quoting me the Rambam. I hold by the Rambam. You're not giving me an apology. If you're giving me an apology, one thing, then the onus is on me. But if you're not giving me an apology, and you're just telling me to suck it up and it happened and whatever, the onus is not on me. That's not an apology. Now, it could mean in their terms, that's called an apology. They feel they've done everything they could. They apologize. It's not an apology. Right? What is repentance in general for a Jew or non-Jew? Repentance means I've done something wrong. And a person has to say, Chatanu, I've done something wrong. Because the Rambam says, what's the essence of the Torah obligation on Yom Kippur? To gain atonement, all you have to say is, I've sinned. Now, it's between man and man not enough. I don't have to go through confession. I don't have to go through 5 times and beat my chest and confess all the things we've done. All I have to do on a Torah level said, I have sinned. I've done something wrong. Why? Why according to the Rambam? Because that's hard enough. That's extremely hard to admit we've done something wrong. Everything else, according to the Rambam, is extra. But according to the rabbis, that's what we have to do. 5 times on Yom Kippur. We have to go through confession. We have to admit we've done something wrong. So if someone comes and they want atonement, they want forgiveness, but they don't apologize, who says I have to give them forgiveness? Maybe you should anyway. Maybe go beyond the letter of the law and say, I forgive you. You don't have to say it, I forgive you. Maybe that's what we should do. But who says I have to? What if they did something extremely egregious? I don't accept their forgiveness. This is a problem. This is a serious problem. Not so easy. But if someone's coming to you, they don't admit anything, and they just say what happened, happened, it's not an apology. Right? That 100% is not an apology. Now, it could be. Again, I'm just throwing this out there. It could very well be someone who says that, that's what they're really saying. And that they really want forgiveness. Right? But they're not saying it in the language. If you wanted to go beyond the letter of the law, what would I say? Forgive them. And say, yeah, I forgive you. You don't have to apologize. But what's the problem? Problem is, we don't want to let someone off the hook. They did something egregious, let's say. They did something that caused us a lot of pain, caused us damage. Right? 100% causes damage. So it's very hard to forgive. And even if they apologize and say, listen, I'm really sorry, and this and that, it'd be hard. 100% it would be hard. But a person's trying to do it anyway. You're going to say, but it's not so easy. I agree. Never said it was easy. But if someone comes and they don't apologize, who says I have to forgive them? They're not asking for forgiveness. They're not saying they've done anything wrong. Over here. So we ourselves, we mentioned before, let's say better. What we just mentioned, this is a huge, huge topic here. Because how can you acknowledge something that the Torah says is forbidden? I might lose a job. How many people lost their jobs when they came to America and they said either work on Shabbos, you don't come back to work. Many lost their jobs. Many ended up giving in. But that was an unbelievable test. Who said you're allowed to desecrate Shabbos here? But I'm not going to have food. Okay, got to provide some other way. Can't desecrate Shabbos. So I would say, better you're not in such a situation, but we're not in control. We're not necessarily in control. Person joins a company, let's say. They join a company, whatever it is. Yeah, people like that as part of the company. It wasn't your choice. Wasn't your choice. Now the question is interaction. You're not allowed to chip in for a gift. They get married, quote unquote. That you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to acknowledge their marriage. You're not allowed to. It's forbidden. No leniencies over here. So that would mean if you're not going to acknowledge that, they're going to press you on it. You have to lose your job. But you're going to say, isn't that the law of the land? Right? It's the law of the land? Yeah, it's a problem. If that's true. You're going to say, is that what the Torah expects? Yeah, it does. That's exactly what the Torah expects. Self-sacrifice. That's what Torah is. Not a 5-year option to renew, right? If you're a Jew. You got to keep it. You got to do it. You got to live it. And there are things that it may cost you. Comes Passover. Things for Passover 3 times the price normally is. Right? You got to buy a lulav and esrog, for a sukkah. Things are, some things are cheaper, some things not. Come sukkahs, which come in a few weeks. Sukkah is a 7-day holiday. First 2 days, last 2 days are holy. You got to have 4 meals on each, 2 meals each day. Preferably, with meat. It's part of the festival. Not cheap. But you're going to say, okay, I'll celebrate Sukkot next year. When I'm in a better situation. And that's not an option. That's not an option. All right, you got to figure out how ends are going to meet over here. But you got to eat the matzah on Passover. You got to sit in the sukkah. You have to have festive meals. You have to keep Shabbos. 3 meals on Shabbos. Better than we normally eat during the week. Okay? Comes every week. This year is going to be crazy for the holidays. Right? We got next Shabbos. So we're going to have a class next Saturday night. And then Sunday night is Rosh Hashanah. So you get Sunday night to Monday night everywhere in the world. Monday night to Tuesday night is Rosh Hashanah. Right? It's 2 days everywhere in the world, even here in Israel. Then you got Wednesday is what? Wednesday is Tzom Gedalia, the fast of Gedalia. Then you got Thursday, Friday, right? Now you got before Shabbos. So then you got Shabbos again, right? Then you got Sunday, Monday, I think Tuesday night. Tuesday night, the week after, is Yom Kippur. Tuesday night to Wednesday night. Then you got Thursday, you got Friday, Shabbos, and then Sunday is Sukkot. So somewhere in between those days, you have to have your, after Yom Kippur, right? You have to have your lulav, esrog, and your myrtle leaves and whatever. You got to start preparing meals, right? For Sukkot, and you got the intermediate days, whatever. So, the schedule's kind of crazy. What do you think? You got to build your sukkah also, so you got to probably do that in between. So, there's a lot to do. There's, tremendous amount to do over here. So God says, I don't care, it's what you got to do. And you got to make it work somehow. No one says it's easy. Right? But it's not like, wow, can't do it now, so I'll have to wait till next year. No. If you're a Jew, you got to keep it. You got to do it. You don't have a choice. Not a 5-year option to renew if I want to. This is what you have to do. So it comes to Passover, people save up to buy stuff for Passover. If they're able to save up, good. You save up a little, every month, how much you need, what your expenses are. Not always easy to do, but let's say you got to plan ahead over here. It's not like, well, I feel like doing it. You don't have a choice. If you're a non-Jew, you're not going to convert. Very good. If you are going to convert, this is what you have to do. A lot of connection between Jews and food over here. So they say after Sukkot, it's like, yes, first thing I'm going to do is go on a diet, just ate a lot. Right? That's why you have all these, days of, what do you call it, intermediate days. You always have these water libation, festivities where, you usually have music and dancing and whatever. That's good. You get off some of the pounds that you ate during during this time. But Rosh Hashanah is like that. You got 4 meals. You're in synagogue most of the day, right? You have to have a festive meal at night and during the day. So whatever, it's also, there's also a lot to do, a lot to prepare. Because after next Shabbos, Sunday is Rosh Hashanah. So you got to make sure most of the food is prepared. Right? I mean, whatever. It's got to get done. Just like cleaning for Passover. It's got to get done. Before the 15th of Nisan, you got to be prepared. So, there are trials that the Jewish people have. Keeping all the holidays. Again, some of them, may be easier. Some not. But this is a very intense time. It's an extremely intense time over here. But you know what? It's intense for everybody. You've been doing it for the last 20 years. Doesn't matter. It's still intense. And, you got to make it all work somehow. And if you have to prepare ahead of time, that's what you have to do. Like I had someone once tell me, I'd love to keep Shabbos, but I do all my errands on Shabbos. So I came up with a great idea. I said, why don't you spread out during the week of doing your errands? Some on Monday, some on Tuesday, some on Wednesday, so you don't have to do it on Shabbos. They thought that was like the greatest advice they ever heard. I was like, no problem. I was like, but you got to prepare ahead. That's what you have to do. So here, this is a huge trial here. Right, here you're being told, accept who we are, or what I am, or you know what, I'm going to get you fired. And that can happen multiple times. So they say, what does God want from me? He wants you to stand by what the Torah says. That's what he wants. He doesn't want you to give in to to all this. The people have an agenda. Who cares if they have an agenda? It goes against what the Torah says. Period. You're going to say, I think the Torah is anti-homosexual, and I think it's anti-pig, and I don't care what people think. God doesn't care what people think. This is what he said to do. But it doesn't fit my world outlook. It doesn't fit my agenda. Well, go eat kugel if you don't like it. Who says you have to be part of it? You don't want to be part of it? Good. And if you are, unfortunately, you were born a Jew, deal with it. Figure out how you're going to deal with it. You say, oh, this is antiquated, it's medieval, it's the only thing that works, right? As Coffman would say, either you look like me or you're going to disappear spiritually. That's what you have. All these other synagogues, Reform, Conservative, they're all disappearing. Some of them are still on, life support, but they're going to disappear anyway. It's only a matter of when. I remember a friend of my father I knew growing up, I told my father once, had a bunch of synagogues get together Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur because, the numbers were dwindling. So I said, take the gavel, go on the bima, on the lectern, and say, my son in Israel says, repeat after me, Iskadavi, Iskadash, the mourner's prayer. Right? Saying it's over. So the person told my father, you tell your son in Israel we're never going to die. Now, that wasn't a threat to me, because I know the average age of that synagogue is 75. If the average age of the synagogue is 75, they're going to die. It's only a matter of when. 2 years later, they sold the building. 2 years later. We'll never die. You died. What happened? Someone told me a while ago, synagogue I knew, at least I knew about it, like, I don't know, 1,000 families, more, gone. Gone. Why? Because you can't pass it down. You can't pass it down. You can't pass it down. It doesn't work. Right? But the point is, if you don't stand strong with the Torah, you'll disappear spiritually. That is what's going to happen. There's nothing in between. There's no middle path here. It's either you're going to observe the Torah and keep it, or you're not. And if you're going to try and find some middle ground to do it and have the best of both worlds, you get best of nothing. You get the best of nothing. And you'll disappear. You just be more watered down. That's all. Right? So, could it be that, this is the next biggest test for the Jewish people today? They're in the workforce and they have to give in to this or not give in to this, let's say. It's a test. It's a very big test. So, what does God want over here? What would I think God wants over here? That you got to stand strong to what the Torah says. Right? You got to uphold what it says. And you can't give in. Once you give in and you start making compromises and different things, it's over. That's not Torah anymore. Makes Torah into a joke. I have to acknowledge things that, that go against everything we stand for. But you might lose your job. Okay. Maybe, that has to happen. Is that any different? God forbid, is that any different than what Jews had to go through at the beginning of the 20th century? Coming to America, and they say you don't work on, if you don't work on Saturday, don't come back on Monday. It's also a tremendous trial. Not everyone was able to uphold what the trial was. Many gave in, and their families, got destroyed spiritually. Others who didn't give in were very strong. It was hard. It was a tremendous challenge. Tremendous challenge. I think I say, well, that's different. Desecrating Shabbos is not the same thing as acknowledging a transgender person and calling them by the right name. Maybe. Keep in mind, someone who's a homosexual and acts being a homosexual, and someone who desecrates Shabbos, the punishment's the same. It's the most severe of all punishments, right? Corporal punishment, skila, being thrown off a 3-story building. If that doesn't kill you, they take a big rock, aim for their chest. That's it. Person will die. But that's the most severe, of death penalty there is in the Torah. They're the same. So people can say, oh, I don't think the Torah this, I don't think the Torah that. Show me where the Torah is not true. Right? Coffman would say, put up or shut up. Show me sources why it's not true. That's not what people are saying. People are saying, I don't care, you can prove it to me, you can't prove it to me. I'm not interested, that's my agenda, that's what I believe. Okay? Admit it. I'd be much happier if you admit it. But you're not arguing the same realm. You're not arguing at all. Because they're never going to get in the argument. Why aren't they going to get in the argument? They're not going to get in the argument because if you're right even a little bit, they're in trouble. And they don't want to change their lives. I met one intellectually honest person over the last 30 years. This intellectually honest person said, if I look into Judaism, I find out it's true, and I have to change my life, I'm not willing to do so. I will not do it, so I'm not going to look into it. So that person is intellectually honest. I never met anyone as intellectually honest as that since. I'm not going to say there aren't out there. Maybe there are some out there. Right? I only met one in the last 30 years. People say they're intellectually honest. They're not. Right? So it's not about whether you can prove it's true or not. That's not the issue for most people. They want to do what they want to do, and they want you to acknowledge it's okay. And that you can't do. That you can't sugarcoat it. There are people going to synagogue for years. The rabbi never told them driving Shabbos is forbidden because they didn't want to alienate them. Well, that's a problem. That is a problem. He's going to have, God forbid what punishment's going to be for that. You got to tell people what the truth is. Some people don't want to hear it, okay? People like fantasy. Fine. Truth is what it is. It's not about agendas. You want to show me where the Torah is wrong? Okay, we'll have a discussion. You show me. But it's not about that. People aren't interested. They don't want to debate you. They want to live their own lives, do what they want to do, and they want you to acknowledge it. And they want you to say it's okay. Who says I'm allowed to say it's okay? I got someone still mad at me 30 years. 30 years. Wouldn't acknowledge the wedding. They ain't married. What can I do? Can't say it's okay. That's never coming. Those words you'll never hear out of my lips. It'll never happen. It can't happen. It's forbidden. It's one of the most severe prohibitions you can do in the Torah. You want me to say it's okay? Not going to happen. You can say I'm a fruitcake. You can say I'm a fanatic. You can say whatever you want. Those words acknowledging that's a good thing and you get a mazel tov, not going to happen. All right, tell me, spouse converts, this, that, and, it's a proper conversion, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's a different issue. But you want me to say that intermarriage is a good thing? Never going to happen. Never going to happen. That's a good excuse person used. And I'm this and I'm that and I'm the other thing. Okay. I'm not missing out on anything in this relationship. Trust me. Not missing anything. Family, not family, doesn't matter. I have to acknowledge something the Torah says is absolutely forbidden. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Oh, you're being brainwashed. Okay. So show me where it's not true. Show me. They're not interested. They want to ram their agenda down your throat, and you have to say it's okay. I don't have to say it's okay. They can make fun of you. They can say all kinds of things against you. But you gotta be careful for their feelings. Like someone said, well, I'm totally offended by that. I said, okay. There's nothing personal. It's not a personal thing. It's what the Torah says. And I believe what the Torah says. If I believe what the Torah says, I can't say that's a good thing. But it's not personal. Wherever the non-Jewish spouse is, nothing personal. It's not their fault. Right? There's no problem over here with a non-Jewish spouse. They didn't do anything wrong. It's the Jewish spouse that's got the problem. He's got all the problem. Or she's got all the problem. It's their problem. I have nothing against non-Jews per se. I mean, I deal with a lot of non-Jews. Right? Nothing wrong with them. They shouldn't be married to Jews. Unless they convert or whatever. Right? But the Jews got the problem. So you want me to acknowledge? And you want me to say this is a beautiful thing? What a beautiful family? How can I say that? How can a Jew say that? An Orthodox Jew say that? You represent Torah. You can't say it. This is your family. This is your blood. All right, technically. So what? Can't acknowledge it. It's forbidden. You don't like it, go eat kugel. That's what it is. It's fanaticism. It isn't, oh, that's square and that's okay. Never going to win the argument. It's too personal. It's too personal. Right? It's not an intellectual argument. I had somebody, I got them into an intellectual argument, and they stopped. That's how far it goes. They stopped. I don't know how we got this far. We're stopping there. We're stopping right now. Because they knew I had them. They knew I had them boxed in the corner. They're like, I don't know how we got into this. We're stopping right now. That was it. That's being open-minded over here. But this is, this issue is not a small issue here. Acknowledging something you can't acknowledge is a problem. And you got to say, well, what if it costs me my job? So it costs you your job. It could very well cost you your job. Well, what would you rather do? Be disgusting in God's eyes, and God says, what are you, a wuss? As we'd say in Boston, right? What are you, a fairy over here? You can't stand up for Torah mitzvahs? You're afraid of your own pocket? Or are you afraid of me? Or are you afraid of what the Torah says? Right? That's the bottom line. Now you got to tell me, but that's the law of the land. And that's what our obligation is. Okay. The law of the land also was, for many people, you don't work on Shabbos, don't come back on Monday. That's also part of the law of the land. And what did these people do? Some of them gave in because it was too big a temptation. And others stood fast, but they kept changing jobs. And it was very hard for them. It was extremely difficult, but guess what? They persevered. The ones that gave in, their families got wiped off the face of the map spiritually. So these people would go to synagogue on Shabbos and then take the train and go to work. Right? It's kind of a hard thing to sustain. Kids are going to get all kinds of different messages, bad messages. So even if you're going to say, well, if I don't acknowledge, they call it racism, I can lose my job. Okay. You may have to find another job. But all the jobs are like this. Right? Maybe a lot of them here are. Right? Someone there points out I'm facing this problem daily. If you own your own company, it's a little bit easier. But you have to deal with customers also. But at the same time, we have to ask ourselves the following question. Is the Torah true? Yes, Torah is true. Do I have to uphold it? If I'm a Jew or a JIT, I have to uphold it. I have to uphold what the Torah says. I can't give in. Maybe it's going to cost me my job. Right? For non-Jews, by the way, just throw this out there. For the Noahide laws, homosexuality is also forbidden. Being a transgender, also forbidden. No different over here. So a person, a non-Jew, they have to give in to that also, who says? They say it goes against what I believe in. You're fired. Okay. That's going to be a test. There are a lot of tests in this world. But that's going to be a test. That can be a serious test. But again, it boggles the mind. It boggles the mind because it sounds like communism 101. They're going to teach you what to say, what to think. Can't say anything anymore. No, you got to be really politically correct here. Otherwise, it borders on racism. I don't know. I thought racism was pretty clear. You make fun of homosexuals or whatever. I can understand. Yeah, they could hold it against you. Maybe it's even a crime. But to acknowledge somebody, it's also a form of racism. And and the Torah says it's forbidden. That's a novelty to me. Right? But what's the claim going to be? What's the claim going to be? That's racism. You have to acknowledge it. But Torah says not. Someone told me that argument goes out the window. You'll never win that argument. Won't hold any water. So there's a problem. This could be a serious problem. There's no way around it. You can't say Mr. So-and-so if, it's a person's a Mrs. now. Or vice versa. Can't call them by the last name. That's not so nice. Right? Without acknowledging a first name. So you're backed into a corner here. There's no way out over here. It's a problem. Not going to say not, so it could be. I'm just throwing this out there, my own opinion, for what it's worth. What do I have over here? I have something God is now going to seriously test us. There are a lot of tests that we have now. Inflation being one of them. There are a lot of tests here. But, if this is on the books, and this is the law, and this is the law of the land, then that goes against everything we stand for. And you can't fight against it. So what's going to be? The person may lose a job. But I could find this problem in another job. True. Maybe it doesn't end. Maybe it doesn't end. I don't know. People who had to work on Shabbos and they didn't. They found ways to make ends meet somehow. They survived somehow. Was it easy? Oh no. Right? But the Torah was so strong, that's the point. They're not giving in to what society says. They're going to hold on to the Torah for dear life, regardless what happens. Regardless what happens. Right? People can be in different situations. They can say, God, do whatever you want. I am not going anywhere. You know what I mean? My life of misery and this and that and the other thing. Okay, I'm not going anywhere. That's the mantra. Remember all the mercy you've done for me in the past. You want to punish me this way? Fine. I'll work it out somehow. I'm not going anywhere. And this could be very hard. Because this could happen all the time. Yeah. Let's say a person got fired, start another job. Same problem. Same problem crops up. Person can go through multiple jobs. Maybe I don't see a solution here. I don't see anything workable where you can acknowledge such a thing. But it just boggles my mind. They can claim that's racism. And they can, and it's an offense enough you could lose your job. I find it also incredulous. To a certain extent, you had people that didn't want to serve these type of people. Oh, you want me to use me as a florist? Not for you. Right? Oh, you want one of these cakes for marriage? No, I can't do that. What you're doing goes against what I believe. They can sue you. That's insanity. So what they're going to claim, and that's what they're saying over here. This is discrimination. You have to acknowledge who they are. You have to call Nathan Natalie now. He goes by Natalie. That's what you got to call him. Him, her, it, whatever. That's what you got to do. And if not, it could cost you. But you can't say that. Same-sex marriage, you can't acknowledge. Can't give a gift. Can't go. It may you look pretty bad among other people, okay? But again, is the Torah true? Or is it not true? If it's make-believe, then we can make up any law we want. If it's true, then I have to uphold what it says. Right? I'll give another example. Person works for somebody, and the boss knows you have certain information. And they want you to tell over the information. Now, in this case, if you tell over the information, it's Lashon Hara. Right? So Avos Chaim says, you're not allowed to give it over. Not to your Rebbe, not to this person, whatever. You're not allowed to give it over. Now, what if the person comes back and the person says, listen, I need this information. If you don't give me this information, you're done working here. What is the halacha? Comes on the Avos Chaim and the laws of Lashon Hara. What does the Avos Chaim say? You gotta lose your job. You gotta lose your job. Now, what could somebody ask? Somebody could ask, is that really the merit of keeping Torah? That's the reward? Lost my job? Because I couldn't speak Lashon Hara? Is that really what God wants? He wants you to uphold what the Torah says. 100%. Right? I was in South America, lost my job. Why? Because I snitched on someone who was selling wine that wasn't kosher. Then he sent non-religious people that didn't keep Shabbos watching wine, which makes it problematic to drink the wine. I shouldn't say problematic. It's forbidden. Everybody knew this. Don't want to start off with this person. So I called up my Rebbe. I said, what do I do? He said, call it in. You got to call it in. If everybody knows that it's true, you got to call it in. Now, I didn't go as far as I could have for different reasons. But what happened? Lost my job. I was teaching in school. It had nothing to do with this. Right? So now I'm teaching in school. They owe me money. They owe me severance. Right? So I get a call. They tell me, listen, you want to get severance pay? We'll pay it. Not a problem. But you have to sign this document. What was the document? The document was to say that, we agree to pay you in full, this, that, but you're not allowed to make any comments, against any rabbis in the community. Now, what does that sound like to you? Extortion. That's what it was. It was extortion, right? So I said, this is extortion. They said, it doesn't matter. Person cutting the checks is not going to write out any checks for you unless you sign. Now, here I am in a foreign country. Stuck. I'm stuck here. Now, if I sign it, it's a false thing. It's like a mafia. Person's an Orthodox Jew. Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. So I called my rabbi. I said, what do I do over here? He told me he can't stay there. I couldn't leave my kids to the school there. So he gave me advice what to do. He said, go in front of two people and tell them you're going to sign under duress. You're signing under duress in order to get paid, whatever. But if you have a chance to, ever go after them, you will. So whatever, it's something in Talmudic law that you're allowed to do this. If you have no other choice, right? But I leveled the person, after I signed it. And they were very happy to get me out of the country. They were very happy. Okay, they did pay me, right? But I signed it, and I said, you're a disgrace to Torah. This is nothing more than the mafia and whatever. But I was worried about other things also. So I didn't take it as far as I should have. But I warned anybody, you see wine with this rabbinic supervision, don't touch it. I did my best. I didn't take it as far as I should have. Okay. So now, here I am stuck, in a South American country. I don't have, any way to make money here. I'm being blackmailed because I stuck up for Torah. So now, what would be the $1.5 million question I could have asked? The $1.5 million question I could have asked was, I listened to my Rebbe, I just got slaughtered. I just got absolutely slaughtered here. Right? Not only did I lose my job, but now they're not going to pay me. I mean, I did have some money on the side, but okay. They're not going to pay you. And now you're stuck here. And everyone was very happy with what I did, but they said, we can't support you publicly. Not only that, the person who watched the wine, who didn't keep Shabbos at the time, now is fully Shomer Shabbos, says to me, I got a problem with you because the person shook him down. So, right, you kept Shabbos before you went, right? They scared him. They scared this guy. And what happens? Who do you blame? Of course, I got the blame. So now the question could be, come on, is that the merit for learning Torah? Keeping Torah? So there are a number of things in my life I could tell you maybe why things happened and whatever. This, I don't have any clue. I don't have any idea whatsoever. Why I was there, what transpired. Nothing came out of it. Only negative things. I don't know. Right? No idea. Right? But the question could have been, you listened to your Rebbe and look what happened to you. You lost your job. They didn't want to pay you. You went through a terrible time. True. But you don't lose out from keeping Torah. You never lose out. These people are thugs. Quote unquote Orthodox thugs. They're thugs. They have a reach of Torah. They have a smell of Torah. They're thugs. That's what they are. Nothing less than that. The person's still going around doing kashrus. One of these people. Got a stellar name. Yeah. Stinks to high heaven, though. Got him in absolute lies and different things. Wouldn't trust the thing this person says or does. But that did not shake my belief in God. They didn't certainly shake my belief in my Rebbe. He was right. I didn't take it far enough that I should have. Should have destroyed this person is what I should have done. It would have been absolutely permissible to do because of misleading people. Not only that, okay, he wants to do this for his own family, and eat the food, that's one thing. But you're selling this to people all over the world, and you can't drink the wine, you can spill out all this wine, right? Because one of the things the person said, what was the lie? What was the biggest lie? The person yells and screams, he's draining my blood. I'm not making any money from this. Right? Someone else tells me, you got chutzpah here. You came and you're trying to take someone's livelihood away from them. Oh, contradiction. This guy says I'm not making money from it. The other guy says you're taking away his livelihood. Who's right? Somebody's lying here. Right? My guess is the person with the biggest mouth is lying. The person saying he's draining my blood and this and that, he's lying. 100%. Because someone else just knocked him off. Right? Friend of his just knocked him off, said you're trying to take away his living. The guy's a fraud. It's forbidden wine. You got to flush it down the toilet. He sent non-Shomer Shabbos people to watch it. That means they have no believability. That means like no one's watching the wine. That means you can't drink the wine. And you can't sell it. All the more so. So again, someone in their own house, let them do what they want. They want to do it, that's their choice. You want to give it to the masses and dress it up as something that it's not, you're a fraud. You're a fraud. But it's very powerful fraud. Extremely powerful fraud. Both these shlemiels are both, two peas in a pod. Absolute two peas in a pod. Okay, I had to come in contact with, all this happened, ends up in America, and whatever, the rest is history. The rest is history. But you can have that. So again, what could somebody say? Somebody could say, you don't lose out by keeping Torah. You got to stand up for Torah. You have to know when to stand up for Torah. But even if a person loses their job, better lose your job than do something wrong in the eyes of God. Because what could happen to a person after 120 years? God could have come to me and said, listen, you had an opportunity here. Right? And I'm still probably culpable because I didn't take it as far as I should have. Okay? I have different reasons, but who knows? That'll be accepted or not. But he could have said, you knew this. Everybody knows this, but everyone's afraid. I don't want you to be afraid over here. Right? So you go do it. But look at the repercussions. I stood up for Torah and got slaughtered over here. I didn't ask the question, where's the justice? Why is the Torah sticking up for me? Why did my Rebbe here let me down? He didn't let me down. He told me exactly what I needed to do. And I did what he said. I just didn't go as far. But I did what he said. And it cost me. It cost me. I don't regret it. I don't have regret over that. You cannot watch someone go around, give over something, especially food, when it's not kosher. He's saying it's kosher. He's got the highest standard and this and that. Now the person has to call it. If you know it's false. But it could cause other problems, could. You think, just throw this out there. You think Pinchas was worried about his reputation over here when he shish kebabbed and he killed Zimri and Cosby Batsur? See, there are a lot of miracles happen to Pinchas. They call Pinchas the ultimate vigilante. Took the law into his own hands. Well, what do people, what's the mistake in that? What did Pinchas do? Pinchas first asked the question of Moshe Rabbeinu. He asked Moses, what's the halacha? You see two people doing the jitterbug. We'll keep it clean here. I don't want you to get thrown off the Roku network over here. Right? They're doing the jitterbug. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I don't remember what the halacha is. He forgot. Pinchas says, I remember the halacha. He takes a spear, walks around with them, kills them. Now, had Pinchas done what he did, and it wasn't 100% for the sake of heaven, right? Pinchas would have been liable. It had to be 100% for the sake of heaven. Not only that, Pinchas is called the pursuer, Rodef. That if Zimri had killed him or anyone else would have stopped him, they had a right to stop him. Who gives them a right to kill a prince of the tribe? But a lot of miracles over there happened. You think Pinchas was worried? What are people going to think? He didn't care what people thought. He asked Moshe Rabbeinu himself. He said, Mo, what's the halacha in such a case? See, people forget that. People say, oh, the ultimate vigilante. Pinchas is the ultimate vigilante. No. He didn't act on his own. Pinchas did what Moses forgot. He forgot. In the lifetime of Moses, a few times he forgot what the halacha was. Different reasons why, not the point for now. So here Pinchas asked the question. He asked the question. before he did what he did. He didn't just go out and do it. That's what vigilantes do. They don't ask questions. You got rabble rousers. There'll be protests and they start throwing things at the police and doing other things. Who says that's permissible? If my Rebbe says you're allowed to protest, who says you're allowed to damage property? You're not allowed to damage property. Right? You're not allowed to. So where are their Rebbeim? Where are their rabbis telling them what to do? They don't ask. You think they asked? Or they're allowed to, burn things on fire and do different things? Who says? There was a girl that walked into a religious neighborhood. She wasn't dressed the way she should have. So, some fanatic said, I'm going to take the law in my own hands. What does he do? He throws acid at her face. Someone says, how's that permissible? Who says it's permissible? Where are their rabbis? You think they have rabbis going to ask, if someone does this, am I allowed to throw acid in their face? What do you think? What do you think? Their rabbi, whoever it is, going to say, yeah, it's okay, not a problem? It's insanity. Nobody would say such a thing. Nobody. 100% nobody. That's called vigilantism. That's called doing something on your own. Pinchas didn't do that. Pinchas asked Moshe Rabbeinu. And he remembered. Then Pinchas remembered. And he did what he did. But again, it had to be 100% for the sake of for the sake of heaven. He cannot have any grudge against Zimri or Cosby or anything else that's not for the sake of heaven. If it's 99.9%, he can't do it. Not only that, he's liable for a death penalty in different ways. If he would have been killed, would have been okay. He's got the status of a road thief, of a pursuer. They could kill him. Can't just take the law in your own hands. Can't just do whatever you want. But people look at this part and say, oh, look, Pinchas, look what he did. Pinchas had a calculation here. He knew exactly what he was doing. But you think for 1 second, Pinchas is worried what the people are going to think? He's worried about how they're going to judge him? He's not worried about that. He goes to Moshe Rabbeinu himself and says, Mo, what's the halacha? Is it permitted or not permitted? What's the halacha? That's a whole different thing. That doesn't sound like vigilantism to me. What that sounds like is, I want to do God's will. Is this God's will or not? And if it is, that's my obligation. If it isn't, different issue. But you got to do what God says. And the repercussions, yeah, they may not go as well as the way we think. Because there are other things going on. We don't know. There are many other things going on. We don't see what's behind the scenes. But in such a case, you got to do what you need to do. Can't worry about what people think over here. But again, in this case, a little bit different. Because here you got, let's say you got it written in law. Can't discriminate over here. But at the same time, I can't call Nathan Natalie. Can't do that. And if you get pushed to it, you may have to lose your job. But you're going to say, I'm going to have to go from job to job because they're all like this. If there are people like that, I don't acknowledge it, I'm in trouble. Okay? I don't have an easy solution. You can't call them Mr. or Mrs. because they're both. They're one or the other. They're the opposites. You can't say that. Can't call them by their last name. I don't know. I don't have an easy solution here. And if it causes, so a person can say, but I'm doing it for the sake of heaven. I need to feed my family. I need this. I need that. But again, what's more important here? At every stage of my life, whatever I'm doing, I have to keep what the Torah says. And it might be hard. And I might have to stand up for things, and I may have to alienate people. I may have to alienate family. And people aren't going to be happy. And they have agendas, and people may never speak to you, okay? There are plenty of people in families that don't speak to each other anyway for other reasons. Religion can divide also. Well, see, there are certain things I'm allowed to do, not allowed to do. So you have to say, whoever falls by the wayside. I've heard a number of people tell me this. When, they got into it knowing 100%, there are people they're going to lose along the way. Family members, friends. They said, I realized a long time ago, I'm on this path and it's a lonely path. A lonely path. A lot of people are going to go, not going to be friends with anymore. Okay. Think about the bigger picture. You're going to go in a totally different direction. You're not interested in them being your friend anyway. We said before, someone said to me, well, what about people that, where are your secular friends? I don't really have too many secular friends. I have people I'm in contact with, but we're not necessarily call them good friends, per se, over the years. Because we hang around with people that think like us. It's very hard, if not almost impossible, to live among people that are going to make fun of us and don't think the same way we do. That's why it's so important for a JIT, a Jew in training, or even an OI to live close or within a Jewish community. That's the only way. No other way. You got to be around people who do what you do, who think like you think. The Rambam says one of the 24 things that stops a person from repentance is someone who separates themselves from the community. So, potential convert will say, yeah, but it doesn't say anywhere in the Talmud, doesn't say in the Torah, that I have to live amongst Jews. Well, how are you going to learn how to be a Jew if you don't? There's no possible way. If that's true, if it's true, then I have to be among people that think like we do. That's why we have to have organizations that can help us, defend us, etc. It's what's needed. And every community has them. But when you're around like-minded people, it's a lot easier. A heck of a lot easier. Doesn't mean everything goes the way we want and everything goes the way we planned. Certainly not. I'm definitely living testimony to that. If I would have thought certain things in my life, I would say, crazy, come on. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And they happened. Totally happened. So, I guess you got to be prepared for everything. Be, 2 steps ahead, 3 steps ahead. Sometimes we're not. But sometimes you say, okay, this should happen or that should happen. Like, you have an idea how things are going to go. And God, throws a wrench in that and says, I don't think so. So you have to go to plan C, D, E. Doesn't always work out the way we think. Again, if I had a dime, if I had a little bit of money that I don't have, and I would put it on certain things, I would have said, okay, this for sure is going to happen. Or this for sure is going to happen. Or at least according to the odds. This should happen, that should happen. And then you come up with a goose egg each time. And you're like, what's going on over here? Right? There are a lot of things we don't understand, we don't fathom. Impossible. We don't see the measure for measure. It's very hard. Extremely hard. But guess what? It doesn't matter. Because we still have to live in this world. And the evil inclination, Mr. S, wants to destroy us. I'll tell you a story. I think I mentioned this publicly. I was, on Thursday. Thursday, a bunch of things to do before I went to learn. So I'm sitting on the bus. Thinking about different things. Not, I wouldn't say I was in the greatest mood, at this point. And just, going on the bus, I see someone, a few rows in front. I see 2 people. One, I would say, was most likely mentally challenged. And, at least that's the way it seemed. Anyway, they got off the bus before me. So one person's helping this other person. It wasn't, this person who was mentally challenged wasn't that old. So it wasn't that old. He could barely walk. I was taking him forever to get off the bus. But there's just other things also. It's about how he kept himself and, whatever. And at that point, I was thinking other things. I saw this. We have different perspectives on things. In other words, we go through difficult times. And then, I'm thinking like, okay, like at this point, I'm like, okay, God, like, what do you want? What do you want over here? Why am I going through X, Y, and whatever it is? Like, what do you want over here? And then, I sort of get a little bit distracted. I see this person get off the bus. Makes you kind of thankful. Whatever problems you have, that's the problem. Dealing with, let's say, person not dealing with health issues, right? This person obviously dealing with health issues and other issues. Being mentally challenged with health issues is, the whole package. It's a big package. So I said, wow, at least, I don't have that. Poo. It shouldn't happen. But like, as I was thinking certain things, I got reminded. I'm telling one of my kids this when I went shopping. I got reminded by this. It was like so obvious that as I was thinking certain things, this thing happened in front of me. There are no coincidences over here. When I saw that, it changed my whole perspective. My whole perspective. Why? It's God saying, yeah, whatever you're going through, you don't have this. Like the Vilna Gaon, a blessed memory, more than 250 years ago, his students were suffering from abject poverty, right? So what did he do? On Fridays, they would go visit people in the hospital. They see people, couldn't move, were in pain, couldn't take care of their needs. They went into Shabbos totally different. They're like singing and dancing going into Shabbos. Now, they didn't have very much, and they were extremely poor. But guess what? When they went like this with their fingers, it didn't hurt. When they wanted to take a little bit of soup, even though there's no vegetables in it, they could do it themselves. They could take care of their needs. That's a huge thing. Huge thing we take for granted. We totally take for granted. Right? But sometimes we got to be reminded. We have to be reminded of the fact that, you know what? Whatever you're going through, you don't have this. Be thankful you don't have that. Someone was telling me today, this week, is the anniversary of the death of their mother. And, a person made a comment, and said, she died eating applesauce. I was like, well, what happened? He said she was 81 years old, had severe, Alzheimer's, and her body went. She choked on applesauce and died because she couldn't swallow, whatever, choked on it. You hear stories like that, not to mention what, a person's got dementia, got Alzheimer's, and what it puts the family through and different things. How they don't recognize anyone, they can't take care of their needs, and, whatever. Like you get reminders sometimes. You get reminders. First of all, you're in this world. You're alive. The alternative is always worse, right? Well, what's the alternative? You're not here. Oh, that might be better. You won't have to listen to me, right? But the fact is, we always think, oh, this is bad and that's bad and the other thing's bad, until we see what other people go through. We say, wow, at least I don't have that. At least I don't have, So, so I heard this. I said, okay, the person was much older, had Alzheimer's. It's a terrible thing. There's no question. So thank God, I haven't had to go through that and other things and, whatever. So there are a million things to be thankful for. But what's the problem? We wallow in self-pity for what we're going through. I'm not saying it's not hard. It may very well be hard. But, I've heard people much older than me say, for years, you can never take health for granted. You can never take health for granted. If you don't have health, you don't have anything. Right? The question is, even a person in bad health, how you deal with it. How you look at the world. My wife was just reading a book about a woman, unbelievable woman who got ALS. Now the only thing she can control is her eyes. Her whole body basically is paralyzed. Right? Can't do anything, on her own. But her perspective on life is, can't imagine. Not wallowing in self-pity. Okay, this is a situation God put her through and whatever. It's giving tremendous strength to a lot of people, telling her story. You can say, well, We don't have, at least I don't have that. We're in control of our faculties. There's a lot of things, but guess what? We don't go through this world unscathed. But the problem is, whatever you're going through, you feel like you're suffering like a dog. That's what we feel. Doesn't matter what it is. Right? I'm not talking small things here. Whether it's with a child, a spouse, livelihood, health, many different things. And we may think like, how could I ever overcome this? And a person can wallow in self-pity. True? Very, very true. There can be people with plenty of money and they have no life either. You have all kinds of things. Question is its perspective. It's perspective. And there are times we have to look outside of what's going on around us. And it might be hard. It might be very challenging. But you have to look at it in the bigger scheme of things. As I always say, write 10 things down that, you're ecstatic about, that you're happy about. And then when you're going through a tough time, before you rip up the list, look at it. One thing on the list, if a person's healthy, you write down health. Right? If a person, let's say, they have kids and, a bunch of your kids got married, they got married very quickly and whatever, you write that down. You have a good spouse, you write that down. Good kids, you write that down. I mean, there are a lot of things to be thankful for. A lot of things. Right? Problem is, we forget. We forget. We can't even look at the list when we're suffering. And it's hard, I agree. Because whatever a person goes through, they feel that, it's impossible. How do I deal with this or whatever? It doesn't end either. Sometimes it gets better. Sometimes other things happen. And you get other issues. It's really unbelievable in the sense that, I remember, people would say, as they got older, that they had, then they'd remember certain pills they had to take and this and that. So I feel like my parents. They had to take all these pills and different things. And, there's plenty to be thankful for. Plenty. There are plenty of things we could cry about. Plenty also. That we suffer through and whatever. But it's all perspective. It's all perspective. Again, whether it comes to health or other things. A million things to be thankful for. We forget. So I had 2 things just in the last few days to remind. Okay. Certain things, yeah. You may have very difficult in a number of ways. Okay. But guess what? You don't have this. You got your faculties. Thank God. Some people say, I don't have my faculties. That's okay. Right? You got your faculties. You're not mentally challenged. You can take care of your needs. Your kids are doing the right thing and that, whatever. There are many things to be thankful for. Sometimes we got to get reminded. Because sometimes we just, we can get depressed. And we can say, wow, this is so hard. Wow, I got, this to do and that to do. And like, you don't know how you're going to come through it and what's going to be and how things are going to work out. You got to put your best foot forward, no question. But got to be thankful for what we have. Is that a guarantee? Whatever we do, we're going to come out smelling like a rose? No. Right? And we could ask the question, okay, God, why are you doing this? Could be for any number of reasons. Right? But we're tested. We're being tested all the time. This particular test, someone's working and acknowledging, gender issue, that's a test. It's a big test. It should happen to nobody. No one should have to go through this. But a person has to remember what comes first. What comes first over here? God comes first. Nothing else comes before him. What are you going to say? I might have to pay a price. Okay. Why does God want me to pay the price in this? Don't know. I don't have answers. Right? But it could be, it could be that when it comes to this, God's going to ask, okay, who's with me? Who's going to stick up for me and potentially lose their job? Because then you have no choice if it would come to that. Right? And God forbid a person should fail the test. They're going to say, well, it's not really so bad. I'm not, deep down, I'm not really acknowledging it. It doesn't matter. Right? I've had someone tell me like this. I'll give you an example. Someone's a Noahide. They want to marry someone. Right? Christian might be a problem because of idolatry. Now, if you're already married, how you deal with it's another issue. But let's say, okay, you're not going to marry a Christian per se. That might be worse, depending on how religious they are. What about a Muslim? Can I marry a Muslim? So what's the problem? So if someone gets married, a certain ceremony that Muslims go through, they have to acknowledge, they have to acknowledge Muhammad over here as a true prophet and other things. But you can't do that. Right? 100% you can't do that. So the person says, what am I supposed to do? Can't marry a Christian per se. But if I marry a Muslim, they're going to make me do this. They're going to make me say this. Right? Can't get married in a church. True. Could be for a Noahide. Not sure. There are different opinions whether a Noahide can go into a church or not. For a Jew, definitely an issue. No question. But this case was, person marries a Muslim, they're in a Muslim country. What do? Well, they can't acknowledge Muhammad over here. They can't acknowledge that it's true religion, and bow down to that. That's a problem. Even if it's the same God. Even if we believe it's the same God, it's not idolatry. Right? Most rabbinical authorities hold Islam is not idolatry. Okay, so now what? So what do? I told the person they're stuck. I said, you're stuck over here. There's nothing you can do. Going to a church is a problem. Certainly, going through the ceremony to be a Muslim is also a problem. You're going to find someone who thinks like you. I think, well, that's going to be an impossibility right now. Oh. So what do? You can't turn the Torah into a pretzel. It's forbidden. I'd have a good answer. Right? They're still, they're still dogging me about it. I said that you don't have a choice. So he said, what? Is that really what God wants for now? Do you meet the right person? But there are certain things you can't do, period. You just can't do. So now what? You can't do it, period. Nothing else. Nothing to say. Yeah, but it might cause this problem or that problem. Okay. So it might cause other problems. So what do you want over here? How do you want to get out of this? There's no way to get out of it. Unless you marry someone who's a Noahide. Then there's no other way. So bottom line over here is that, this person may have to stay alone. Until they meet someone. But even for a non-Jew, even for a Noahide, certain things you can't do. So you say, but I'm stuck. I empathized. I said, you're right, you're stuck. Right now, you're stuck. But how can it be? You're stuck. There's no way around it. Right? So in a case like this, a person gets called out on this, they're working, and they may have to lose their job. They may have to lose their job. They may have to lose their job a second time, a third time, because they can't, they can't acknowledge certain things. You're right. Might be very problematic. But the question is, am I doing what God says or not? If I'm doing what God says, then that's what it's supposed to be. But you're going to say, how can I make a living doing that? Okay, you got to find something that's, you're not going to have this issue. I'm not going to say it's not impossible, maybe. Right? You might come in contact with this a number of times. Could be. Is that any different with the Jews coming over? Keep Shabbos or don't come back on Monday? That was a huge test. Huge. A lot of Jews fell by the wayside. Totally fell by the wayside. They couldn't stand up to the pressure. So you gotta say, what about us? We're in a much weaker generation. True. It's yeah. It's gonna test the mettle of some people. Some people will succeed, some people won't. Some people say, some people will justify it. They'll say it's not so bad, maybe it's only rabbinical, maybe this, maybe that. For the sake of making a living, we can be lenient. I don't know. They'll come up with possible ways. And if it's not true, then you're in trouble. Because then you saved yourself, okay. And you saved your job, it's not what God wanted. So now you're making money that doesn't belong to you. Because you really shouldn't be there. Really, you should have given up your job. So how am I going to survive? This, that. Not everything's permissible here. A person's in dire straits, it means they should steal. We'd be Robin Hood over here. Take from the rich, give to the poor. Doesn't work that way. It's still forbidden. Doesn't matter why the person's having difficulty. Doesn't matter if the person's a multi-billionaire. They're not going to miss the money anyway. It's forbidden. Stealing's forbidden. Right? You're not allowed to. Two wrongs don't make a right over here. No matter what the situation is. It's forbidden. Who's allowed to get things illegally? Yeah, but, I have to survive, this, that. Okay. I'm not, plenty of things I'm not allowed to do over here. So you can say, well, it makes life very hard. Okay. No one said life's supposed to be easy. But who says I'm allowed to transgress in order to survive? Is that what God wants? That's not what he wants. He wants you to persevere somehow. That's not what he wants. So, we have to stand up for what the Torah says. If there are leniencies we can rely on, okay? If there are leniencies, let's say normally you can't rely on, but in some cases maybe there's, okay. If there are no leniencies, you can't do it, Right? It's not an easy thing, I agree. People could have it very hard. I can't imagine the trial that people went through coming to the U.S., beginning of the 20th century. Keep Shabbos, or, if you don't keep Shabbos, you can work here. If you keep Shabbos, find another job. That's destroyed people. We can't judge them. It's very hard. How in the world is a person going to survive? They don't have consistent work. So a lot of people gave in. Can't judge that. That's a very hard test. The ones who stood fast to Torah, they're heroes. Absolute heroes. Because they didn't give in, even if it was hard. Even if it seemed impossible. They didn't give in. And they raised beautiful families. Was it hard? Oh, yeah. No question about it. But their family stayed Jewish. Many others totally intermarried because they just gave everything up, which is too hard to keep. Right? So you're going to say, but, doesn't say the Torah should be kept? Yeah. The Torah should be kept. But, sometimes it's kind of hard. You live in a place that's antithetical to Torah. And that makes, why do you think so many people left Europe? Because they couldn't live under the circumstance. Pogroms, anti-Semitism, all kinds of things. Made it impossible for them to live. They picked up, left everything, not any great shakes, and they left. They didn't want to be persecuted anymore. They ended up in America, land of the free, home of the brave. Through their Jewish, their Yiddishkeit, their Judaism overboard. That's what they did. Now, I can't blame them for wanting to get away from persecution. Right? But in a certain circumstance, you can't live. The government, whatever, makes it impossible. Makes you suffer like no tomorrow. So what are you supposed to do? You try and get out of Dodge. You try and get out, if possible. Sometimes you can't. It's got elderly parents, this, that, you can't leave. You get stuck. The person may get stuck. But they suffer tremendously. So why did God make it like that? I can't answer. That's a decree over there. But the Jews unbelievably suffered in Europe, no question about it. Some say when the Messiah comes, in the war of Gog and Magog, whenever that's going to be, Europe's going to get hit first. Because of all the Jewish blood there. The Malbim more than 100 years ago says any nation around Israel is going to get hit first. Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Iran, these places. They're going to get hit first. Okay, whatever it's going to be. Right, that's not really the point. But people suffer in Europe tremendously. Some have the fortune to get out, either come to Israel, get to America, whatever. But a lot of families got wiped off the face of the map spiritually. They suffered tremendously. Is that what God wanted? They should get wiped off the face of the map spiritually? No. Well, some people just, they couldn't hack it anymore. Totally couldn't hack it anymore. Why'd they end up in America? Because they don't want to be persecuted for being a Jew. So what they do, they took their Judaism and threw it overboard. And that Judaism got destroyed. I mean, it's being built up now, but listen, you still have many, many Jews. The majority of American Jews don't know anything about Judaism. Nothing. So what happened? They suffered tremendously and they gave up their Judaism. That's what happened. But it's being rebuilt. You have unbelievable Torah centers in America. Right? It's unbelievable what's going on there. By leaps and bounds growing. But at the end of the day, we have to keep the Torah even if it's hard. Right? That's the whole point over here. It doesn't matter what God throws at us. It doesn't matter how difficult certain things are. So what? God's like, shut up and eat the matzah. That's what you got to do. That's your obligation. Matzah going to be 3-4 times the price, this, that. Okay, you got to work it out somehow. But you got to eat matzah. You got to clean up before Passover. You got to get it ready for Sukkot. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things to do. There are a lot of tests along the way. But he says the Ramchal and Path of the Just. What are we here in this world for? Struggle. That's what we're here for. We're here to work hard. And a lot of times you got to say, wow, it has to be this hard. I'm not God over here. Right? God's making all the decrees here. Based on what we do and what we need. So it's kind of hard. You think about it. You look at what's going on. We're not going to say to you, it's not. But at the end of the day, we need to do what we need to do. Non-Jews need to do whatever they're obligated to do. It doesn't mean by any stretch it's going to be easy doing it. No. I don't know any non-Jews out there. Either as Noahites or JITs, Jews in training. I don't know anybody who has it easy. Dealing with family, friends, other things. I don't know anybody. Some a little bit more, some less, right? Whatever it is, right? But at the end of the day, they're suffering. They're like, I signed up for this, and then they see how Jews act, a whole different thing. I want to be an Orthodox Jew, and I see, Jews commit fraud. They do other things. Not everybody, obviously. It's like, why did I sign up for this? Because don't mix up Jews and Judaism. You got to keep what you need to keep. Whatever they do, okay. You need to do what you need to do. That's it. At the same time, not an easy path either way. I think Noahites in a certain way have it more difficult. Lack of community, lack of ritual, other things. But at the same time, it's hard all the way around. And Jews don't grow up religious. Also have problems. I don't think it's any different than converts in many ways. Family goes by the wayside. Friends go by the wayside many times. But the difference is you live in a Jewish community. So you'll make friends that are like family. That's what will happen. But it can be extremely hard. right? I'm not here to discourage. It can be hard, no question about it. But at the end of the day, what do we say? No pain, no gain. Right? Lafit Sar Agra. According to the amount of difficulty, that's the amount of reward a person's going to get. So there's no free lunch. There's no free lunch over here. You got to work hard, but you have to realize it might be a price you're going to pay. And for some people, what are they going to say? What are they going to say? The price is worth it. The price is worth it. That's what people are going to say. Because they're going to do whatever God says, no matter what. And they're going to be very strong. But who says it's going to be easy? Nobody says it's going to be easy. Even going in the right path, there's no guarantee for nothing. I know plenty of people went the right path, had all kinds of problems. Health issues, livelihood issues, kids issues, like everything combined. You say, wow, that's what I signed up for. I mean, look at what Abraham went through. Went through all these tests. God said, save the best for last. Circumcision at 100. And God's like, hey, what do you think of what do you think about, this covenant? Like, wow, what a great covenant. What about giving me everything because I believe in you and I'm gonna educate everybody about you. Yeah, if it did that and I gave you everything, everyone's gonna sign up. I'm not interested in that. Right? It's all about trials. That's what this world is. That's what it is. And how we either overcome them or not. Right? And sometimes we can think, this is impossible. I've been put in a situation I can't handle. We don't say that. God never puts a person in a situation they can't handle, even if we think that's the case. But I will say one thing. And I guess we'll end with this because I didn't really get that far. But, I'll end with one thing. And that is, anybody in the process coming out of paganism, coming out of Christianity, wherever a person came from, think about where they are right now. Think about where they were 5 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. That's progress. Now, are we holding the way we should? Probably not. Right? But we have a lot to be thankful for, no question. Right? So now, a person came out and you think, I'm going to be part of the Jewish people. Right? Or I'm gonna be, a JIT, a Jew in training. I'm going to be an Noahide. Wow, it's going to have so much more meaning in life. That's true. That 100% is true. But don't think for 1 second it's going to be so easy. Right? I mean, except in a case like Dan over here. He's had it unbelievably easy. Right? He's an exception to the rule. He's a total exception to the rule. Everybody else, has had a hard time. And most people have a harder time. So you're going to say, that's the reward? This is what I signed up for? And I guarantee. I make a personal guarantee, Pulinetta, with no vows over here. I make a guarantee that everyone who's gone in this process, wherever a person's come from, they're going to tell me there are 1 thing, 2 things, 5 things. They said, I didn't sign up for this. Guaranteed. They didn't sign up from this. They're going to say, I didn't think this was going to happen. I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think the other thing was going to happen. Right? Again, it doesn't have to be a lot, but it usually is. It usually is because they're going to say, come on. This is really what should have been. This is what I've given up to sacrifice. You say, but I didn't sign up for that. So we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. A lot of it could be payback for what we've done. A lot of it could be what our soul has to go through. Right? It doesn't matter. But if you think about when a person went through, let's say over the last 5 years and where they are right now, they're going to say, wow, how did I get from here to there? They're going to say they went through a lot of trials and tribulations in between. Things that they never would have expected in a million years. Maybe some things are a little more obvious, doesn't matter. So right now, they can be happy, okay? This is where I am now. Look where I was before. Look what I went through before. Look at the knowledge I've gained. Okay, that's very true. So you're holding somewhere different in the world. That's beautiful. Problem is, where's it going? Right? Where'd you come from? So that you should be thankful for, but you didn't expect it. A guarantee. I guarantee a person didn't expect it. Because there are things that come up in life we don't expect. Even if we're going in the right direction, even if we're doing the right thing, you're going to say, come on, really? This is what you're throwing at me now? This is what I have to go through? No, nobody signed up for it. In the end, they'll say, oh, it was good for me, built me up, it strengthened me, different things. Very good. But they wouldn't have necessarily signed up for it. If they had a choice, we say every morning, right? We say every morning, God, don't bring me to trials and tribulations. But you don't grow without them. But you're going to say you got to make it so hard, right? So the idea, if we think it's all going to be, an easy cakewalk, so to speak, go back in Jewish history. Look what Abraham went through. Look what Abraham went through. And he suffered like you can't imagine. He suffered tremendously, but look what he became. Look who he was, right? So we can walk on his coattails, so to speak. We want to go in that right direction, but going in that right direction, what does that mean? Trials and tribulations. That's what it means. God's not going to say, okay, I'm going to pave the way with, pave the road with gold, right? You got to go to the golden in Medina in America. You're going to pick off the dollar bills from the trees. I still haven't found them. Looking for them, but I haven't found them yet. But in the end, the goal is whatever trial and tribulation the person has, right? Whatever it's going to be, we have to know that there's a benefit to us, even if we can't necessarily see it. If it makes us stronger in our beliefs, keeps us on the straight and narrow path, even if it's hard, okay, we all have trials. 100%. We all have trials. We all got to pray, right? We all have to work hard. Doesn't mean we get the results we want. It doesn't mean that. But you know what God says? I don't care. You have to serve me anyway. And we have to be like we're serving in the army, in any army, in God's army. That's what we have to do, whether it's hard or not. You get 2 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep. God's like, gotta get up and pray, right? These are things you got to do, right? There's no easy way. I've looked for an easy solution for a long time. Never found it. You got to work hard, right? That's the bottom line, right? That 100%, that 100%, is the bottom line. Maybe you have to follow the yellow brick road, right? Maybe we're going to follow that yellow brick road somewhere, right? But in any case, I guess I'm going to stop there. We didn't get very far because I got really off topic, but, it's still good to, I think some of the things we hit, I think, are important. So I guess next week, we're going to have a class next week as well, same time. It'll be chapter 2, Mishna 13, part 4, right? And we're still on. We still haven't even hit Rabbi Lezer says a good eye. We haven't even touched that yet. So you were complaining some of these things going on 10 shows, 12 shows, 15 shows in the same Mishnah. This is going to be a while, right? So that's why we do it at least, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And, we don't cover that much ground, but I think there are a lot of important things that, that we spoke about.
Right on. Yeah, I think you covered a lot, Rabbi. Forgive me, I'm a little tired today, so I've got to get some sleep. But yeah, I mean, I'm thankful I don't have it as bad as some people, but I probably have it definitely worse than a lot others. So, but like you said, thinking back, where was I X number of years ago? And yeah, I'm glad to be where I'm at today, and it's a joy to host these classes and. Yeah, see it actually impact lives. So thank you for today's message. And you heard the rabbi, folks. We got a part 4 next week. So Baruch Hashem, we will be here the same time next week. And we hope that you all have a blessed week. And we'll see you then. Bye for now.